Right. Morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Y'all good? All right. Nice to meet you. My name is Ryan Gavari. This is Monique Lemos. We work over at New York Life, Southern California. Our office is right on Brand Boulevard. So if you're on the 134, you see the New York Life building. That's where we are. Before I kind of get into our presentation, I want to give a big shout out to Erin. I was able to connect with her, I want to say almost a little less than a month ago. But again, what we want to do is, pretty much give financial literacy to the, Edison community. Specifically for today, we're going to talk about college funding. So, big thank you for Erin for having us here. But that's what we're going to speak about today. Monique, if you could please put the arrow.
Oh, it's not working.
It's not working.
How do I do forward?
Let me just see.
Sorry. Because I went like
No,
this.
let's see what's going on. Sorry about that, you guys. Let's just give it one moment. Huh. Aha, there we go.
Up and down.
Okay,
Okay.
there we go. All right, so this is what we're gonna go over are, what are the different college funding options? How do they work? We're gonna talk about, again, 529 plan. That's a very common one that parents know about. Almost everyone has heard of a 529 plan. How does it compare with, let's say, for example, a whole life policy? That's another strategy a lot of parents look into. I will be showing an illustration as well. So what an actual policy would look like, how it's funded, what the return is, how it continues to grow. And then obviously, which option is best for my child? I'm not sure how many parents we have here. But whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, this is a great way to also bring it up to others in the community, just so they know how it works. I do want this to be interactive. So again, I'm not going to get too in depth today. A lot of financial different concepts can get a little complex. I'm going to make it very simple. I'll open it up. Hi, welcome. Yes, it is. We have portals in the back as well. Feel free to help yourself, okay? Thank you so much for coming. And then, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, just hold until the end. Hello, welcome. Come on in. Thank you for coming. And Monique, if you can click on next. So what are the different college funding options? So right here, 529 plans. Most people have heard of them. Covered L accounts, they're a little bit more old school. Not too many people do those, but again, a good option to at least still talk about. The custodial accounts, UTMA and UGMA accounts as well. There's high yield savings accounts, which a lot of parents take advantage of. Also, Roth IRAs is another popular option, and cash value life insurance, otherwise known as COBRA. So there are a few more, but again, just to kind of be wary of the time, these are kind of the main ones that we talk about. So if you can click next one, thank you. So what are 529 plans? So they are state-sponsored accounts that can let anyone save for college for a beneficiary, aka pretty much the child, with tax advantages included. There are pros and cons. Everyone can see them, right? That's all big enough. We can read it. Okay. So again, basically what happens is anyone can fund the 529 plan. There are pros, which again, it is tied to the market. It is a market-based account. So S&P 500, you want to invest in Apple, Amazon, you can do that to maximize the growth. They do grow tax-free. And then again, the distributions are also going to be tax-free for higher education purposes. So this is a great account. If you're looking for some market exposure, this is definitely one where parents can invest in. Some of the cons, again, it's pretty much, there are limitations on how the money can be transferred, how it can be spent. If it's not for an educational purpose, you are going to be taxed 10% and taxed at ordinary income. So the IRS, Uncle Sam, our favorite uncle, he's very, very stringent on, hey, you can't go on like a spring break trip to college, but you can't do anything that's not going to be towards education. And Monique, if you can click next, thank you so much. So the covered L accounts, it's just another account. To be honest, this one was a little bit more in the 70s, 80s. A lot of parents like to do this one a little bit earlier. The pros are that, again, it can be invested for maximum growth. It is tied to the market. So you will have the market exposure. This one is great because, again, you can use it for elementary and secondary expenses. Well, if a lot of parents want to fund their child's education, let's say right now, maybe college is a little bit too much, it's a little too much in the future, or their child may know a lot of kids, they're maybe not opting to go to college. I know a lot of you are probably saying, I know it kind of scares a lot of parents and educators these days, but again, the way the economy is going, a lot of kids are deciding when they're 18, hey, we're probably going to go to trade school, get into entrepreneurship, maybe start a TikTok page. I know there's a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds who are starting TikTok and they make a couple $100,000 a year. So again, you can use it for the elementary purposes in today's time. Some of the cons, again, there are income caps. So if you're not making too much, you can't qualify. If you make too much, you can't qualify. There's kind of that like range that's kind of in there. There are the contribution caps. There are some various taxes, fees that apply. But again, there are going to be fees in most of these accounts, as you'll see. It just depends which ones are kind of the most meaningful or which ones you're kind of willing to take that risk. If you can fast forward, Monique. The custodial accounts, again, these are going to be opened by parents. It'll transfer over to their child at either 18 or 21. That really just depends on the state that you're in. So you just have to like read the rules, regulations, how it's set up. The pros, again, it is tied to the market. You can get that maximum growth. And just to say this really quick, anything tied to the market, although there is a chance of growth, we all know this, there's also a chance of decline. So I love the market. Monique loves the market. Being invested in the stock market is great, but it's also about diversifying. Have some safe funds as well, because you never know. Hey, if my child is going to go to college and another 2008 happens, where the market tanks 38%, what happens to my kid's college? What happens then? So something to keep in consideration. The great thing is anyone can contribute. Friend, family, aunt, uncle, parents, just someone over the age of 18 can contribute. So there's lots of flexibility. Cons, again, there are caps on how much you can do annually. I believe the gifting basis is again 17,000, but on a year-to-year basis due to inflation, those numbers are subject to change. So always just make sure, hey, you're checking your see what those limits are. And Monique, can you slide over to the next one? High yield savings accounts. We've all almost heard about these. If you have a bank account or if you're part of a bank, you've seen the commercials on YouTube, on TV. High yield savings account, 4.5%, 5%. So, hi, good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Portals in the back if you want some. Thank you. So pretty much you open up the account. It gains interest on a daily basis. And then you can take out that money. But when you take out the money, if you have capital gains, so anything over 12 months, and you gain interest, you are going to be 1099 at the end of the year. So the money is not tax-free. You're either going to pay Uncle Sam in the beginning, when you take it out, or later in life. So unfortunately, there's no technically tax-free option. The pros are there's no income limits or caps. You can put $10,000 in a high yield savings account, that's completely fine. You can use the funds for whatever you want, there's no limitations, and many come with no fees, or if they do come with fees, it's very minor. There are no tax advantages with this one, no options to invest the funds, so these aren't mutual funds. And then the earnings can vary year to year based on interest. I know interest rates recently dropped, but interest does change on a day-to-day basis. And then Monique, if you can slide over. This is another one. I'm sure many people have heard of this, the Roth IRA. How do these work? It's pretty simple. You invest after-tax dollars into these accounts. They're put into the Roth IRA. It grows tax deferred, but then when you take it out in the future, all of the earnings are going to be income tax-free. So that's pretty much how they work. The pros are, again, they are going to be tied to the market. There is market exposure. Again, there is the possibility of growth. That's what they're meant for, but there is also the risk of decline as well. So it's always about not putting all your eggs in one basket. You want to be well diversified across all platforms. And the earnings are tax-free. So again, that's one of those where you're putting in after-tax dollars. That's why you're not taxed in the future, because the money's already been taxed. In terms of cons, if a parent is funding it, they may be shortchanging their own retirement. So a lot of parents are like, hey, can I open up a Roth IRA for my child? You can, if you own like a business and you want to put them under the business, because the way you can open up a Roth IRA is if you have earned income. So if you're not working, if you don't have earned income, you unfortunately can't open it. But if you have some sort of earned income, a lot of business owners who are parents do this for their kids. That's how you can open it. So that's another strategy. There are annual contribution limits, also limits that you can put into it. So if you want to do more than 7,000 a year, you can't do it. And then also income range, if you make too much money, you also can't contribute as well. And then the last option I want to go over, let me click it, the cash value life insurance, otherwise known as the whole life policy. So similar to a Roth IRA, I like to say it's like a Roth IRA, but on steroids. It gives you all of the advantages that the Roth gives you with more flexibility. So it's again, after-tax dollars, they're put into this account. It grows tax deferred, but when you pull the money out, you don't have to pay taxes on it. The reason being because you already put after-tax dollars in. There is no 59 and a half age limitation. With the Roth IRA, you need to wait till 59 and a half. In terms of touching the gains, you can always touch what you put in, but if you touch the gains, Uncle Sam, your favorite uncle, is going to tax you, and he'll tax your ordinary income as well. You can use the funds on anything. The cool thing with this account, though, there's a big G word in here. There is guaranteed growth. So in all of the other accounts, they are market-based. You cannot offer guarantees in anything market-based. Anyone who says, I know it's going to happen in the market the next day, they're lying to you. You should just run in the opposite direction very far. In this account, legally, it is guaranteed to grow every week, every month, every year. You can even sign my name on a sheet of paper. I'll give it to Monique. She'll do the same. You can give it to a federal judge, lawyer, all legal. The cons, though, it does take time to grow. It does take time, so it's not a get rich quick overnight kind of thing. It's not how these work. There are fees associated with the policy as well. So towards the beginning of the policy, and you'll see, I'm going to show an illustration. It does take time. And if you're over the age of 18, this is mainly relating to parents, you may need to do medical underwriting. But if you're doing it for your child, they usually get approved within 1 to 2 business days. So the underwriting process for children, it's very, very simple. I've gotten kids approved in how long, Monique? Maybe 24 hours?
Yeah.
The next day, they just, hey, there's your policy, and you're good to go. So if you can slide over to the next one, Monique, this is what an actual illustration looks like. I'll kind of break things down. So this is a policy I did for one of my clients. Again, you're not going to see any of their personal info, but what you're looking at is just their returns and how it's working. So this is just how long they're funding the policy. The parents that I spoke with, they wanted to fund it for 16 years. So this is end of year 16. Then after that, they're not funding it anymore. So when you see those zeros, the contributions are done. The annual policy cash flow, that's a fancy contract word for saying, look, that's just how much they're putting in on an annual basis. $6,000 a year is equivalent to $500 a month. Now, the cash surrender value, this is the money growing in the account. So remember what I said, it does start off slow. You're probably, so let me just address the elephant in the room. You're saying, Ryan, how does someone put in $6,000, but they don't get anything year one? So again, that's called the acquisition phase. So kind of like real estate, when you first get real estate, the equity is low, but over time, the equity continues to increase. It's a very similar comparison here. So this is not a get rich quick overnight kind of scenario. It does take time to grow. So this is more for mid to long-term planning. But as you see, every year it does continue to increase. And again, this money can be taken out at any time, income tax free. Reason being because the taxes were already paid on the money coming in. Another cool feature, I know this is kind of a dark topic to bring up, but there's also a death benefit associated with this. This is a life insurance policy. Now, no parent ever wishes or wants their child to pass. That's not the point of this, but it also does come with a life insurance policy. There have been children, again, we've had a few clients lately where unfortunately the child has a medical condition. They need surgery, they're on the verge of passing. You can access, let's say if you need a surgery, up to like 90% of this death benefit to use for medical expenses as well. So again, we're using it to leverage. It's not for life insurance purposes, but you're using the life insurance to leverage the tax-free growth. So this is essentially how it's working. Really quick too, I do want to point out, after my client stops funding it for 16 years, there's no more money coming in. But if you take a look at her account, it continues to grow. So even though the parents are no longer funding it, it's growing based on interest, which interest is always subject to change. The second way it grows is based on dividends. Dividends are just a redistribution of profits from the company, which is New York Life, to the policy. In this case is my client, who is about to be 3 years old next year. So that's pretty much how it works. Now, dividends are not guaranteed, but New York Life, we've been paying dividends for the past 170 consecutive years. Even though it's not guaranteed, we've been able to pay those dividends on an annual basis for the past 170 consecutive years. And the dividend we're paying out for 2024 is 6.2% tax-free. If you were to compare that to the market in the S&P 500, that's about an 8 to 10% return. You're doing that in the S&P 500, you're a pretty good investor. You should probably go work on Wall Street, and then maybe we can partner money with you guys too. But again, that is how this account can also benefit parents. It can also benefit the child in the future as well. Monique, if you can click over, I want to open it up to questions, but really quick. A lot of parents, teachers, they ask us, Ryan, which one's the best for me? Really, it comes down to, what are your goals? What are the goals that you want for your child? Have you spoken to your child about it? Maybe they're 1 or 2 years old, they're not really speaking yet, but ultimately it's, what do you want to do for them? What a lot of parents like about the whole life and a lot of teachers is, look, unfortunately, a lot of kids are opting ever since COVID, either not to go to college, or they're rethinking school, or maybe it's a different kind of school they want to go to, or they want to invest in property, start their own business. With the whole life that I just showed, those funds you can use for anything. But in a 529, can't do it, you're going to be penalized. And then let's say there's a couple $100,000 in there. It's a lot of money that the parents have invested, and now their child is saying, hey, mom and dad, I'm not going to go to school. Roth IRA can work as well, but again, there are limitations there. So really what it comes down to is, what do you want for your child in their future? That's ultimately what it's going to be. I do want to open up to Q&A. I know I went a little over, so I do apologize there, and I just wanted to give the information. Does anyone have any questions? Anything at all? Did everything just go over the head? No worries. I know it was a lot of information. Something Monique and I want to offer to you all. She's going to be passing out information cards. If you want to speak on an individual basis, we would be more than happy to sit down with you all. Again, it is going to be a complimentary session. So don't feel like you're going to call me or Monique and we're going to throw this crazy hourly fee at you. That's not how we work. We are fiduciary, so we put you all first. And at the bare minimum, we do also want to offer everyone in the room a complimentary financial assessment. It'll basically show you where you are today, or where your child is today, where you want them to be in the future, and basically all the steps we could possibly do to help you, whether it's with us or your own financial advisors. Either way, that's at least the offer we want to give to you all. But if we don't have any questions, or if anyone's a little nervous right now, maybe you want to talk one-on-one, please fill out the information. Thank you all for your time. Erin, thanks again for everything. This has been huge. And I do want to just go one slide over. If anyone wants to take a photo of this, feel free. That's my email and phone number. Same with Monique. Feel free. We're always here for you guys. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And hopefully the portals was good. At the bare minimum, if this was maybe a little too much, hopefully you got a little good breakfast and coffee.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely. And then we're just gonna hop over on this side. Yeah, I am.
There was the other.
Ms. Rios, would you like to join? I'll share your I'm sure you know how to put it in the right mode.
Of course, yeah, I have one all with the others.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for coming. Wow, these are really good, so thank you.
Absolutely, you're very welcome.
Right on.
Can I use this chair?
I was trying to resist that potato ball, but I hate it. But just really quickly, it's good to come back to these. I really hope that we can continue meeting and simultaneously supporting for our, but, appreciate it. I was trying to think like, what are the things that you don't know about? Well, today's a dance party during lunch for everyone because of our chocolate sale. Thank you. I know that I always say this and I always joke about it, but we've tried selling. This is my 14th, kind of 15th year. At the end of this one will be the 15th year that I've been at Madison, and we've tried, for those of you who are future parents, we've tried selling healthy things that don't sell. But so I came back to the chocolate. The chocolate is the one thing that I stick to because it all goes towards field trips. Our buses are expensive. They're just like the biggest expense. And so that's the one thing that we spent all of our funds that we made from the chocolate funds. We sold 833 boxes of chocolate. We're still waiting for some stragglers that haven't paid me yet, but so I'll be calling those families, but technically with the amount of money that, so it's the only company that does 50-50. So half the money goes towards the chocolate company, World's Finest, that the chocolates are getting smaller and smaller. I remember when I used to sell them, they were thinking $20, like, but needless to say, so we made about $24,000. If once everybody pays their money, that's $24,000 that goes towards school buses. We are probably one of the few elementaries. There's some school, because I go to principals meetings every month. There's some schools that do not go on field trips. They think it's too much and it's too much of a pain and it's too expensive. And so it's sad because I think that these are the types of things that kids remember. Field trip. Remember that math problem? Well, they might remember if it traumatizes them, but it's really the field trips, all the extra things that we do. So thank you for the support of the chocolate sale. Like I said, teachers are already signed up and ready to go on field trips, which is super exciting. So it was at $24,000 for field trips. The other great thing, so thank you. The other great thing is, I don't know if you noticed the marquee finally, it's up. It's not running yet, but it's up. It took, God, I want to say it was close to a school year and it was an accident. And it had been up probably about 1.5 years when someone hit it with a car and then it was out. And so it took this long for insurance, do the person that hit it and all that fun stuff. So it's up, it's not running, but we hope to soon get that going. Business areas and I are supposed to attend the electronics training so that we understand the new updates that they made to their software. So just want to let you know. No one even noticed it. They're like, oh, it's up already. Yes, it's up. It doesn't work yet. So that's the other big thing. We have our DJ dance party today at lunch. Everybody participates. The goal was that at least one person in each class, in every class, sells a box. Everybody goes, and it's probably the funnest thing the kids like, and we're gonna do it on the playground. So, want to convince? You could come in and mention yourself between 11:30 and 1. And then what else? This is an exciting thing. Oh yes, it's not exciting, but it's kind of exciting. But okay, our uniform. We really want to hone in on the uniform. Navy blue, khaki, white. We've we did 1 year of the black on the bottom, and it's a hot mess. I'm just gonna tell you. It creates a lot of but we wanted to give it a try with. It was supposed to be for like the upper grade, but it's just become very loosey-goosey, and so we're gonna be sending out notices.
Some background on why we added black. It was at a coffee and a bite, but it was mentioned that as the kids are getting older and some are getting, the word, it's not my word, huskier. It was harder to find khaki pants, but it was also during COVID time where it was hard to find things. But I think things are back to normal. You do find khakis and blues in the bigger sizes. But the black is just becoming really messy because we're saying only bottoms, but you've got kids in full black. And it's just it's too much to police. We don't want to police it.
Yeah, so you're probably gonna see something come up so that we can kind of talk about it and vote on that black. The teachers, we had a meeting with our teachers, and our staff on Wednesday. And it was like, ooh, it's very, because the kids, want to wear the black top or they wear, it's getting really difficult for them to be consistent with it and to really ensure that we're being fair across the board. Yes.
I just wanted to, I'm an advocate of the black bottoms for dirty purposes. I have a little. So, you said the parents will be able to vote on that, or that's the teachers?
No, it'll be everybody, it'll be parents, teachers, it'll be everybody. Yes.
So I'm a little bit confused about the Wednesday policy. Because last year it was like you can wear any colors.
Your grade level color.
Sorry,
It's the grade level color. What grade is your child in?
oh, it was in first grade and I've been sending you the full color. I'm not sure. I'm like, my grade was
Kindergarten is always rainbow. Oh, but they could be like, because if they do their grade level shirt, it's the one that's like a tie-dye different colors. It was too hard for kindergartens to be like, I'm gonna wear this here, on that Wednesday, so we said it's the rainbow, but TK is the same way. TK in kindergarten is rainbow. First grade then starts having their Wednesday color is
Yellow.
yellow.
Okay.
Second grade is red. No problem. Yeah, the Wednesdays are just their grade level colors in the second grade. Yes.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, why is it divided by color? Like, why didn't it just be Spirit Day and Edison Fair for everyone that day? Like, why white colors for each?
I don't know where it came
I don't know, I think that, I saw the kids voted on, or who, but that's been like. Yeah.
I think it was.
Oh, maybe field day, because it was like grade level spirit, like who has more faith, and then they would have their color. They do it at the middle school as well and at the high schools. So it's just, you're right, it was field day kind of issue, because it was all teams and you could see where the first graders were when you were all in the school. It's whatever you want it to be. Because, when we had our kindergartners, who was like, what, they want to wear pink with the wings? It was just kindergarten, it was just.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to be, yes.
I know for a moment it was just the first Wednesdays of every month that you're doing Spirit Week. So now it's every Wednesday?
The reason why, remember that discussion, for those of you who have been our veterans, they were like, what's the point of wearing buying that one shirt if you're only gonna wear it one time? It was just like, we wear it on every Wednesday. It used to be like the last Friday of every month, but we did it Wednesday so that you get more bang for your buck, because you're investing in that shirt and
And it kind of makes Wednesday fun.
and it makes Wednesday kind of fun.
Yeah, well, no, they told me that and I was like, I don't think that's
Yeah.
true.
Every Wednesday. You're like, no, only on the last Wednesday. Yeah. And it was because parent input was, I invested in like the Edison shirt, that's the color, and then they never get to wear it, or we never. Yeah. We'll have more discussion. We just kind of want to throw it out there because it's been coming up. And we figured we'd always address it. Anything that includes uniform is a parent discussion with the staff. So you might see more of it and you'll be getting news notices. So if it's the bottom, that's what we were hoping too. It's like, it's the bottom, it's the bottom. We talked to the kids about it, but we figured we'll reach out and talk to parents as well. If I think everybody's on the same page and they enforce it before their child leaves the house, then it's a non-issue. But I think it's getting really, or the parents will be like, what? Yeah, Grace not right. That's what we get. Like the parents are like, you fifth grader, they've been here for 6 years, So that's what we need, the partnership of the parent. And if we're all on the same page, then this would be a very, very easy flow. Right? I think that was it. Yes.
Not to think that if you wear a sweater, you can wear any kind of sweater. Is that right? Yeah.
I mean, I know at some schools they don't,
Yeah.
but I mean, I have children too, and that just gets a little crazy for me and for you. I try to be as very aware of that with our families as well. It's hard, and sometimes a sweater, as long as they're warm, put the name on it, because let me tell you, there's so many lost infections again. We haven't found the solution for it, and Erin, I mean, she hangs it, she makes it pretty so that kids can come. And you know, like with those towels and the swim trunks, there's one more week of swim next week. You know, it's only 4th, 5th, and 6th. We have the towels there. We have 4th graders walk by, 5th graders walk by, 6th graders, and they're like, no, that's not my, what you put it. But, so if you put the name on it, she's really good about hunting them down, taking it, putting it in their classroom, in the teacher's box. If your child's jacket has their name or their water bottle, it will find its way back to that child. But there's so many that don't, and they just kind of. So before you leave, maybe you want to go check it out. I had one parent 2 months in a row, like one time she came, she brought a rolling little cart because she found like 10 jackets that were, so they're out there, come out. If not, we do donate them.
Principal Labrecque, just one thing. One quick thing, everyone, if you don't know, on Parent Square, if you're on the website, on the right side, there's a word that says, I think it says pay. That's where the spirit wear is. There's Mr. Sondergaard made a new design this year, which people seem to like. But Principal Labrecque, there were a couple things that came up at our PTO listening party that I know we discussed. Could I ask you 2 of the questions just to make sure I thought it'd be good information? So one of them is some of our parents asked about having a big sale. And I know that you had a bake sale, like, and what I had asked about, but I thought it would be good to circle back and let them know we heard them and here's what the answer.
Yes, bake sale. I love homemade cakes and these. I think one of the things that came up, and this was years ago, they changed the policies district-wide, board policy-wise, is that it would have to be store-bought. Because allergies and I don't know, we don't know what your kitchen looks like. I don't know. And I think to also rid you of any kind of liability. You went to store-bought, and that's, I want to say that's district-wide, and you decide to do your own bake sale off campus like that part, that would be like on you. That's the same thing we tell you for your birthdays. Because there's so many allergies and so many people that are really anti the food dyes that you try it really hard just not to have it. That's why.
Thank you, Principal Labrecque. And then the last question is some of our, was school site council, but I think Ms. Rios, thank you. Ms. Rios had sent out the information on that, which has been great because that was a question.
Yes.
And then the last question
If you want to
was,
join, you got those little papers that said if you want to like be part of the board or just the meetings. It's really informative, and we meet like 3 to 4 times a year.
that's wonderful. Thank you.
Did we get any responses back? So we got some responses back. So about it, she's gonna tell you all about it, and this is really key. All the information she's gonna give you is like a lowdown summary of everything from test scores till whatever the state of our school is at this point.
So just final question, because I want Ms. Rios, this is a very important presentation, is a lot of our parents have been asking how we can encourage English and Spanish program engagement. I think post-COVID, we've seen a lot of kids feeling like, oh, Spanish side, oh, the English side. And I think we talked about this. You had a beautiful answer of what you're doing at school. And I think it'd be wonderful for parents to hear that. No pressure, sorry.
I mean, during the first time, and I'm sure the kids are probably talking about, oh, I have a different English teacher during the first half hour of the day, from 8:30 to 9. We do for, I want to say it is from first grade through 5th grade. They do it from 8:30 to 9. 6th grade does it after lunch. It's like sacred designated time where they get mixed around and switched around to a different class, and they do mixed programs during the time. It's the ELD, ALD language flow. And so we've done that. It did after COVID or during COVID, we really had all these different zones and we had different sections, and it was all based on different policies, and we really have tried to go back to the way it used to be, the good parts of it. And just doing that intermingling. So that really had shown even with the teachers, because they get to know everybody. So like you take ownership of all 4th grade, of all 5th grades, and learn how to class. So that is one thing that we're back to this year, and everybody participates. We also do a mixing during our field trips. we tried to do, Mr. Sondergaard had a really great idea of like, hey, we can mix up like during PE, and it doesn't work for the teachers because if we're team teaching and now your class is there and my class is gone, we can't collaborate and plan because when you're gone, then my kids are, you know what I mean? Like, so we tried to do a little bit of that. We try to do more of the social pieces where they're together and intermingling that.
The reading buddies.
And our reading buddies. We do a lot of reading buddies and it's not within any program. But field trips, reading buddies. The first half of the block. And I don't know, teachers have, if you have ideas, we're more than happy to do it. And even outside, but we do it in teams with grade levels now. Everything's like a grade level team rather than the classes. Am I missing something?
But it is a challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
The
you're.
kids
you're
identify
really-
each other as the Spanish class or the Spanish kids.
Or the English.
Yeah.
And I think what really helped before COVID was the intermingling of the classes in the first class. Because then they just got to know everybody, and that was really a positive, that even the teachers felt that way, they're like, it's all of our class, like all fourth grade, all.
Thank you, Principal Labrecque. No, that's really important. And we can encourage that with our kids, like, hey, did you make some new friends today? Like in your morning class. And it's, you start the day off in such a great way, intermingling with students.
And those classes are fluid, so they don't stay like that for the entire year. They're mixing and maybe every 6 weeks or at the trimester, so they get surrounded. And maybe the teacher stays the same, but the kids change. All right, we're gonna hand it over to Ms. Rios.
So fun, what I'm gonna tell you. So I'm, for those of you that know me and some ago, I have a sister of a student of mine from 20+ years ago, and yes, really, it's a neat kind of weird experience. Anyway, so my name is Ms Rios, for those of you that don't know me, and my title is teacher specialist. I'm not a specialist of anything. That's just the title that we have. So just to give you some history. So in the district, the teacher specialist is a pipeline to get to admin. I want nothing to do with admin. So I've been in this position for a really, really long time. So I have parents that'll come to me and say, so what's your specialty? I don't have one. I'm a teacher and I support the admin team. I support parents. So mine is kind of a beautiful position because I really do have my hands in with the teachers, with the kids, with the parents. And so that's who I am. And I've been here a really long time. So one of my biggest responsibilities is to make sure that we're in compliance with federal money, with categorical money that we get. And so I have the responsibility of these really fun meetings that give you a lot of information, but it's really to inform you as to why we do what we do, where our money goes. I think that for those of you that have been here a while, I think that we're very transparent about what we do. I think it's a community-based school. It's why so many of us stay here. We started here. I started here when I was a baby, and I may retire from here. And I think a lot of our teachers are in that position. It just becomes home. And for a lot of us, our kids came here. So today's my son's 17th birthday, and he was here as a kindergartner and he's now a junior. So it's home for a lot of us. So what I do, I take very seriously. It's part of who I am now. I spend more time here than I do at my house. So anyway, so Title I, don't judge me. It's just information I have to give you. And so if you come to School Site Council, you'll hear some of this too. So Title I is money that we get from the federal government. So depending on the school community. So let me go to the next one. So it's federal money that the feds give us. When you have a certain number of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, we get Title I money. So once upon a time when I started here in '96, we used to be like a 90% Title I school. So we had assistants in the classroom for some of us had assistants for 3 to 6 hours. All that money has changed because our demographics have changed. So once the dual immersion program like really kicked in and became solid, our demographics changed. When we moved over to this school site and demolished all the apartments that were here, it changed the money that we were getting. So we are now under 50% Title I schools, and so the money looks different. And I'll show you where our money goes. But because the federal government gives us money, they also hold us to a different standard. So like a school in La Crescenta does not get Title I money. They don't hold them to the same standard. They don't account for every single penny and what you use it for, but with us, they do. But there are some perks to Title I monies at the La Crescenta schools. You may not have a full-time specialist like me. They may just have them for 2 or 3 days. And so the principal, or they may not have an assistant principal. The principal and this other person will run the entire school. But at our school, we still have enough funding to keep me. Let me show, it's out of order. So as I mentioned, so 40% of the kids have to be eligible for for free and reduced lunch. So that's why we push the lunch application, because it gives us money. Now that's all private information. We don't know who those kids are, so I can't come to your door and say, you haven't filled out your application, please apply, because I know you qualify. I don't know who qualifies or not. So that's why it's kind of a blind, please submit it and you either qualify or you don't. So this is all based, this money that we get is based on enrollment from last October. So we work kind of on a different calendar. So this is based on October 3rd, 24th. So when you are a part of school site council, we do the budget 2 times because we're working with pretend money, what we think we're gonna get, and then we get the official money of what we actually get in October. So we have to revamp the budget a couple of times. So what we ended up getting, 478 students qualified for free and reduced lunch. The quantity given per student is $578. That money has also gone down over the years. It used to be a lot bigger. So for the school year, we have $256,385. That seems like a lot of money. It's not. Let me see. Because and this is where I always feel really, really guilty saying this and confessing to this, because a big portion of it goes to my salary. I get paid by 2 different accounts, by the federal, the Title I money and category supplemental money. That's a different pocket of money that we're given. So at a La Crescenta school, my position is funded by the district, and that's why they can only afford 2 to 3 days. Whereas at the Southern Glendale schools, Title I money is used to provide a teacher specialist. And I think that I've stayed here this long because they do move us around. I've been blessed to stay here this long because of the dual immersion as well. I think that keeps me attached to Edison. I don't know that if the dual immersion was here, I don't know that they would have kept me here as long as so every year it's like, oh, do I get to stay? It's just one of those positions. It provides office support. So we give additional money. So if you come to school site council, I really break it down for you. Office support. So we provide extra days for Miss Kathy and Miss Samantha to be here at the end of the school year, because the district only pays into a certain amount, but we still have so much more to do once the teachers are gone is actually when we get to work. Because when kids and teachers are here, they need everything. And so we provide extra 10 days for Miss Kathy and for Miss Samantha for them to kind of wrap up the year and start the year. And then we also bring them in 5 days earlier before the school year starts. Student interventions. Ms. Contreras is funded partly by here. Mr. Garcia, who many of you know, but Mr. Garcia right now is our long-term sub for Ms. Camacho while she's on maternity leave. So we're really hurting because we really need Mr. Garcia back at the intervention teacher. Instructional materials. What we ended up doing with Mrs. Labrecque is that we divvy up the money for salaries, but then we put a huge chunk into instructional materials because, again, it's federal money, so I have to account for every penny and I have to justify how we spend our money. But if I put a lot of my money in instructional materials, I can move the money around. Whereas if I say I'm putting this money from Ms. Rios' salary, I have to have a meeting with school site council and get approval every time I move it from salaries. But instructional materials allows me to move it around. Like if we need more money for buses, because we ran out of that chocolate money, I can put it for school buses. Still all accounted for, but it's easier to move in certain accounts. Teacher extra hourly, if our teachers do after school tutoring, it's not required of them, but many of them do start it after the 2nd or 3rd trimester. So we put it in there. And then there's a certain percentage that has to go to parent expenditures. So that's babysitting, we call them refreshments now, and parent education classes. So we're trying to bring some of this back. We used to do so much of this back in the day and we just kind of stopped, but we'd like to bring some of that back. Yes,
Because I know we get a full-time nurse and a lot of schools don't have that. Is that how we afford that?
we finally got, it used to come out of this, but we do not provide that anymore, right? Mrs. Labrecque? Nurse comes out strictly from the district? Carmen?
The nurse, yeah, and I think, well, it's a health card, right now we have an LVN. The nurse comes two days a week, she's the nurse, Miss Elizabeth, so she comes 2 days a week. The LVN now we have 5 days a week, and that is from.
Because a lot of schools don't even have that. We've been fortunate to have somebody there. And so that's not out of the Title I.
No, and then also has to do with student need. We also have students who are diabetic, and so we need somebody who's here to support. It depends on the needs and the other things.
And our Title I money has to be, it's not that you're a Title I student, so you get support, we're a school-wide Title I. So in some cases where there's smaller numbers of Title I students, it actually has to go to that student. So we've been lucky that we can provide all of this for all students. But that's, so basically what the government is saying is we're giving you extra money. We need to see that what we're giving you, you're using it to student use and you're giving us, and the students are performing better. So that's why I always have to show you student scores, because that's what they look at too. Once upon a time, like some of you may remember, so after state test results were publicized, schools would fall under certain categories. So you would become a program improvement school if you weren't meeting the targets that the state was setting. And Edison, once upon a time, was that school. We weren't meeting the targets. And so we became a program improvement school, and we had to show that we were going to make these. I mean, you know, we all feel very differently about state testing. Some of it is, it's challenging, and they kept changing the test. They're still changing the test. But I've heard that it's coming back. So that criteria of identifying you as a program improvement school, they're going to give it a different name, of course. But it's coming back because now we've been back long enough to be able to compare test scores to see if we're making the progress that we're supposed to be making. So look out for that, and I'll inform you as I know more about it. So as a Title I school, there are certain things that I have to talk to you about. I have to make public. One of them is a uniform complaint procedure. It has nothing to do with uniforms. It's that as a school, as a district, we're promising that your students will have the right instructional materials. Your facilities will be clean and safe, that the teachers that are here are high qualified teachers. Once upon a time, not all teachers at work were highly qualified. You can have a teacher on an emergency credential that wasn't done with their credential yet. The state of California no longer allows for that. So everybody here is highly qualified. Are we missing material sometimes? Yes, like especially the first few months of school, all of us specialists were scrounging for, I need 3 more of this. I'm making copies for teachers. But if you go an entire, months without the right instructional materials, you have a right to say, this is not happening in my school, or doesn't look safe in my school. So you have a right to complain about just about anything. But the way we like to run it here, if it's something that's happening in the classroom and you're not happy with it, please talk to the teacher. If you still don't feel happy with how that conversation went, talk to one of us before it goes to the district, because most things we can take care of here. There are very, very few things that we'll say, please feel free to go to the district, because we can't help some of the concerns or needs that you have. And some parents get upset about certain things, and rightfully so. And sometimes it's very extreme that we can't help. We write down my name, spell it correctly, and complain about me if you need to. But we do like to take care of everything. Most things that we can. Kid issues, don't get involved, let us help, because then it becomes a parent issue. So, we talk about this all the time. We're here to help you. So this is one of the things that is a requirement. Another thing is a school site council. We have to establish a school site council. So what a school site council is a composition of, since it's being recorded, you can read it at nighttime. It's composed, it has to be equal parity. So you have to have 5 parents. You have to have the principal, 3 classroom teachers, and another school staff. Usually that school staff person is me. We are in an election year because we have parents that have been doing this now for a couple of years. No, it's a 2-year term, so they've been doing it for 2 to 3 terms, and it's been a wonderful school site council. So once upon a time, we teachers were running this and we were never in compliance. We couldn't get parents to participate and help us with this. But it hasn't been like that in years, and so it's been really nice to have people participate. It's not super fun stuff that we do, but it's stuff that we have to get done. It's probably one of my least favorite things to do because I don't speak compliance. It's just not my personality, but I have to get it done. So that's what it's supposed to look like. Senora Colasso and Senora Tiscareño have been, I think, my lifelong school site council members. And I love them because they have a historical piece of it, but other teachers should really get involved. So, and sometimes what happens is that teachers that want to go into administration will do school site council for a year or two just to say, I've done it, and to get the experience as to what that looks like, because every school has to have one of these. So that's what the composition looks like. You got a green form asking if you are interested in becoming a member. I see one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those together. I'm going to send a reminder today to please turn it in if you're interested, because then I'm going to send out a ballot next week for you to, because you have to be nominated by your peers. So teachers are nominated are voted in by their peers, parents are voted in by their peers. Yes.
So you're filling all 5 seats, or are
We're
there
gonna
some
fill
that?
all 5 seats.
Oh, there-
Yeah, and you can continue. So some of the parents that have been doing it, I'm also encouraging them to do it if you want to do it.
But all 5 are up.
Yes, all 5. So I'm gonna send a reminder about that form. These are the responsibilities of the school site council. The school plan is the biggest thing that you don't have your school plan with you. It's the best thing we do here. While you're reading it. It's what keeps me up at night. So that school plan, what that is that we create 70 pages. It's so fun. A lot of it is just kind of a template and we fill in numbers, but that plan is what allows us to spend money. It's what allows us to do what we need to do here. And so we create 4 goals. There's always a reading goal, a math goal, a social emotional goal, and an English learner goal. And so you've got 4 goals. I've got strategies as to how I'm going to meet those goals. I've got what the expenditure will be. I have to justify everything, because let's say I want to buy, I have to buy dolls for kindergarten, little baby dolls. The ones they have are old. So I have to find in my plan how I justify that I can buy dolls, because if I don't justify it, I can't buy those dolls. And so we have to be creative in our language about, hands-on materials that will enhance their learning and language. And
She has to note down the page number and the goal that it pertains to.
page
For
number, item
everything
number.
that we purchase, which again, it's a great checks and balances, right? You should do that for a personal life. But with this plan, you have to put like goal 3, page 10, it justifies this expenditure. So nothing is bought just for fun. It's how does it tie into the goal of diversity? How does it tie into inclusion, right? And all those baby dolls now, we have new baby dolls. They have they have the brown baby, the black baby, the Asian baby, they have a lot of different things. Before this was your object, but it also just kind of brings an idea taste to what does it support? Who is it served? This is where a Title I school and it includes everybody, if everybody benefits. But it's very, very specific in that way, and it's kind of tedious. But if you're in school site council, you get to learn really all about how the rules relate to what's purchased.
And it's not the easiest thing to write, because we have to give, 5% of these students will increase in this amount. And that's what you hope, but we're using state data that doesn't come out until a year later. So we're kind of working backwards a lot of times, but we do the best that we can with the team. There's a family engagement policy that I will be sharing. I used to send this document out every year, but it's like a 8-page document, front and back, and it doesn't seem like a good use of paper. I feel like if we put it on our website, I tell people that it's there, you can, reach out to it. But it basically said, I'll show you the link. The homeschool compact that's coming to the complaint procedures. So those are the things that we have to talk about at school site council. But we also talk about other things, but those are the things that have to get done. So the family engagement policy, it just, let me show you what it kind of looks like. Is it gonna work? Oh, I can't do it. Sorry, I can't do it. You'll see it. Ah. How do I get back to it? No, I can't get back to my presentation. There it is. So it's basically a document that says this is what the school is going to do to communicate with the family. Our Thursday folder, the parent square, teacher communication, the homeschool compact, different things that we're doing. And again, it's sort of a template that we all use, and we just kind of change things that apply to us individually at schools. But it's a Title I requirement. The other, and this is why we have it, to tell you what your rights are, how we can support you. This is what it entails. Then there's a homeschool compact. The homeschool compact, this we looked, oh, Senora Colosso is one of the best ones to work on homeschool compact. She notices every error, every grammatical error, but we need that. So it's a compact between three parties. It's the home, the school, and the student. And it basically says, I promise to do this. And the intent is for you to sit with your child and say, this is what the school wants from you. This is what you're going to do to be a successful student. This is what I'm going to do to help you become that successful student. And this is what we as a school are going to do to help you get there. So it's a three-way partnership, and we send it out, you sign it, and you send it back. We did electronic at one point, but it was just hard to track. And some teachers really like to have a hard copy. So when they have a parent conference, they can say, you said you would do this. And you can do the same with the teacher. You said you would do this. So that's coming. Now to our test scores. So these are results from the 23-24 school year. So the students that we have scores for are our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. So 6th graders are the ones that left. They're now our 7th graders. Okay. So these are our 4th graders, 5th graders, 6th graders, and those are our 7th graders that left. So this is math. This is a percent of students that exceeded the standards, met the standard, nearly met the standard, and did not meet the standard. This is public information. So this has now been, you can go online and you will find this. But here it is. So math has been getting better over the years, because for those of you that have been with us for a while, we were really, really low in math. As the standards changed, as the curriculum changed, we had to adjust to what had happened, and our kids were really struggling. And one of the biggest struggles that we find is that math, and you must see it at home, math is so language-based now. So it's not just computation. And for those of you that are in dual, it's like a double whammy, because it's so much language. So it's always a conversation of, do they not know how to do the computation, or is it the language that's stopping? Because if you're not a fluent reader, or if you're not someone that has, the endurance to get through math, the reading problem, you lose what they're asking you for. So I remember with my son, I would have to say, underline those key points. What are they asking me for? Circle those. And I know the teachers do this all the time, but kids rush through things, or they don't have the endurance to read through it all to figure out what is it that they're actually asking me. So that is a huge issue. 3rd through 6th grade. 3rd grade really ups the game in terms of math, because first, kinder, first, second, it's a lot of computation, very little language, and then 3rd grade kicks in. But our 3rd graders are doing the best. So once upon a time, they're historically 3rd grade would dip, and then they come back in 4th grade. But lately what we're seeing is that 3rd grade is doing really well, 4th grade is dipping, and then they start to come back. We're not sure what is happening in 4th grade, but that's been now like 2-3 years that we're seeing that. And this is like statewide, district-wide, where 4th grade is the one that's dipping, whereas before it used to be 3rd grade that used to dip. Yes.
I don't have to make.
Go ahead.
First time I'm
Yes.
joining one of the students. So my son is in the bilingual part, and so my Spanish isn't well.
And he's getting a lot of, like, he's getting pretty much in math, and it's all like, there's no English part, so I struggle myself at times to, you know, to explain it to him, and I get a little bit worried if I'm like, how is this gonna go? Because the language is only gonna get more complicated. How is this gonna go like next year, or, you know, I barely, like, yeah. I'm just like struggling with the homework language wise.
language wise.
Yeah.
So everything we teach is standards based. So even though they're in the Spanish program, what they're getting is language based. So your son's in first grade?
Yeah.
State testing doesn't start till third grade.
Okay.
So they get the standards. The language is a different piece because if they are struggling with language and reading, it does affect them, even if they're really strong in math. But what we find with the majority of our students is that because everything is, even though everything has been taught in Spanish, we give them an English test and they do just fine because it is standards based. And this isn't the only test that they take to get them ready for that. We've got the iReady, we've got other diagnostics that teachers are doing. And we're not just, if I haven't said this already, we're not a school that teaches to a test. We're a school that teaches standards. We're a school that teaches strategies because tests are always going to exist. Tests may change over the years, but there's certain test taking skills that will always, they always work. And so we want to make sure that kids have those strategies. Yes, do we know the blueprint of what the CASP looks like? Yes, we do know what that looks like. And some of the district assessments are kind of replicated so that kids know the format. But we're not teaching to the test. But we do find that because the standard teaching is so strong, they do rather well. And because this is both dual and English classrooms. And if I were to break it, I don't have that data with me, but it can be broken up. Our dual kids do really well. There's that bilingual brain, you know, there's a science behind that brain that learns into two or more languages that maybe not in third grade do they show, but as they get higher in grades, they do start to outperform a monolingual student.
The CASP is in English, right?
Yes.
I hear that it can be transferred into Spanish. Sometimes like they might know a word in Spanish and not know what the English.
So as I start getting ready for state testing, I'll send out a message to our, so the only thing that can be translated is math. It's called stacked translations. And so I send out a message to my teachers and say, so for 5th and 6th grade, we don't do it because they get taught math in English. But 3rd and 4th graders are being taught math in Spanish. And so those teachers will say to me, yes, I want the translation. Or only these kids need the translation, because for some kids, it becomes too distracting because what they do is Tracy has 3 kids, the 3 kids have 4 apples, and then it'll do the translation on the bottom. So it's really busy. So for some kids, it's just too much and some kids don't need it. So the teachers tell me specifically what kids would benefit from it. Sometimes I'll get a message from parents. I think
So
like,
it's not just this word, I don't know what this means in English and they can choose that.
I have to like do a whole stack
Oh.
translation per student. Yeah.
Oh,
It's like Ms Reuters, and then it changes year to year, like some year Ms Reuter always has the stack translations. But I have teachers that say this class doesn't need it because they're almost a predominantly English speaking classroom. But for some of like our newer students that are newer to the country, I will translate. But it's the teachers decide who gets it.
got it.
Yeah, and it's only math, I guess. Yeah. Yes.
So I heard from your question, and also I've been hearing it, because I'm somebody who speaks both Spanish and English, but if I have a child who is in the Spanish program and I'm not dominant in Spanish, and I see them have problems getting more verbal, how do we help? How do we help those parents want to be more involved, you know, to oversee it more, to ask the kids what they're up to feel like they can help, they can be a third leg right in that education. Maybe the math would be like way better if they just had more support, but the language is the barrier. How can we maybe put together this resources that will translate or whatever to get those parents to learn about psychology?
A dream of mine was always to create some sort of parent support group. And I've never done it. It's, you know, it's resources. I think that it's hard. I mean, I don't have an answer for that, but I think that naturally parents tend to work together to help each other. Google Translate becomes your best friend, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, sorry, to translate that.
yes,
Take a picture. So they go share.
that would be great.
You can set it to take a picture, and then you go Spanish to English, and it will give you the direct translation in like, because I'm a non-Spanish speaker.
Can I ask you to email me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then we can create some sort of page where it can be shared.
Yeah, because I use that, and then, like, for his writing assignments right now, we'll write it in English, and then I'll go through and I'll use a translate app to translate it, and then he can do his writing. So that we see getting support help.
Same here, I do.
So if you can send me whatever you're using so that I can create some sort of shared.
But another thing that we have are the parent connections for each grade. So I use Google Translate. What's not for me, the challenge isn't the Spanish, it's the Common Core ideas of strategies, because my child will be like, the answer's 4. I'm like, no, but you have to draw why it's 4. Like, it's just a different way of doing math. The math is my learning curve is Common Core. So whether it's a Spanish question or a Common Core question, we've set up in Parent Square your grade level parent connect. And if you're not signed up, sign up for it there. And you can just say, Medina's class, question about math, la, 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 what did you guys get? And someone can upload a photo of what they did, so, and that's the parent support that we put together this year.
Okay.
So we'll get you the QR code if you haven't connected to that.
Sure. Yes.
Because sometimes we'll just look at it and be like, okay, I saw the translation. I still don't understand the strategy. It's a new way for us of learning math.
I wanted to use that, because I've been in Edison for over a decade now, 3 kids. There's I don't know if you guys are members of the Friends of Edison Facebook page. You can link up with other parents. I know some parents do like after school studying in the library if you want to get more support that way, so the kids can learn together. I know that the Chromebook, like I'm a non-Spanish speaker, but I have all my 3 kids in the Spanish program. My 3rd child, my youngest, is now in 4th grade, and they're all fluent in Spanish, and they do well in math too. So it's not impossible. So what I do is that because their math is different from the math that I learned, their Chromebooks, I don't know if your children have been playing around with them, but Google Translate is in the Chromebook. So yeah, so I tell them like if you're stuck with a word or anything, use your resources in front of you. Their Chromebook is, I've been here since before the Chromebooks were even with Edison. And so the Chromebooks are just, it has so many apps that they can use. They can practice with Khan Academy. They have iReady to practice their Spanish. So just give it like a couple hours every day. It really helps. And with the maps, they have the Google Translate and the Chromebook. So it's really, they can do it on their own.
Khan Academy is definitely a great resource.
Yeah.
I use that. No, but as it's a public site, so you can go in there and type in a problem, and I love it because it shows you how that person is working through it. I used it for my kids. Yeah, just go on.
I'm doing something wrong, sure.
Yeah, because Khan Academy is public and it's free, and so that's been super helpful.
Yeah,
As a parent.
find the Facebook page. I'm sure, yeah, because a lot of parents would ask questions there too. And some of the parents who've been with the school longer, who have older kids, respond. They're like, everybody's very helpful.
And just so you know, that Facebook page is not managed by the school,
Okay.
that's parent managed. Just so you know, okay, so that's math. Here's English language arts. If you see 3rd grade is solid again. So. That's what it looks like right now. And so as school site council, we look at this, as a school, we look at this, why is this happening? Teachers will ask how their so Ms Reuter will ask, how did my kids from last year do? So she can see what the results are. They also want to see, like a 4th grade teacher will want to see how the 3rd graders did. So they want to look at the data so that they can, it's a puzzle really, like what is it that happened that was different this year, or that I can teach differently. That's the intent. I mean, we should really be looking at, the state wants to see how we're doing, but we as a school are like, what do we need to do differently? It should be, we should be always be looking at our school as a puzzle. What happened? What do we need to do differently? Okay, so that's ELA. And then we have our English learners. So Mrs. Labrecque mentioned the language block. Last year we had 193 students that were identified as an English learner. So an English learner, when you enrolled your child, there are 4 questions that are asked. What language does the child first speak? What language is spoken at home? There's 4 questions that are asked. If a parent puts anything other than English on that 4-question survey, it raises a flag and we have to assess the child to see if they are limited in English. A lot of our families that enroll in dual put English, Spanish. That's different because, and I always have to say, if your child is instructed, what is your child's dominant language? Do they know English? Do they understand English? If the answer is no, they don't speak anything but Spanish or Armenian or Russian, we have to assess their language level. Because that means that we as a school have a different responsibility with that student to ensure that their English skills are going to be growing every single year. Because myself, I grew up in a Spanish speaking home. School is where I learned English. When I went back home, nobody spoke English. So school is where I learned my English. And for a lot of our kids, this is where they hear English. They go back to a home where another language is spoken. And so we have to make sure that we're meeting the needs of these kiddos. So last year it was 193 students. We have a little bit more this year because our kindergartners have just arrived. So that number changes. So Mrs. Labrecque mentioned the language block. Because we have students with so you have a range from a student that just got here a few months ago to a student that was born here, but like myself, grew up in a Spanish speaking home. So they don't speak anything but Spanish. So we have that range of students to a student that is beautifully bilingual the moment they walk into our campus. And so we have a range of languages here, but we have a responsibility to make sure that students are getting the language instruction that they need. So we've created this language block so that we can do that. Because if I, as a teacher, have a class, and this happens more in our English speaking classes where newcomers arrive, especially so in the past 2-3 years, because of what's happening in the world, we've gotten a lot of these students from Russia, from Ukraine, from Armenia. And so it's been a long time since we've received students from especially not just the language, but the social piece or the emotional piece that they're coming in with. So our English speaking classes are really, really heavily impacted with brand new students with limited English skills. And so that's a really hard job to have a student that just got here from a student that only speaks English. And so this English block is our way of trying to alleviate some of this in the classroom so that we as a school work together to figure that out. Because in the dual classes, you have very few students that are limited in English. And so those teachers can move on. And I mean, they're doing something completely different. They're also teaching Spanish to kids that have never heard Spanish. But we wanted to make sure that we all felt responsible and helped each other out because our English classrooms were really, really exhausting. And it was a constant, like, now you have a new student. I mean, all year long, that's what was happening to them. And so during this language block, for example, in the 2nd grade wing, you've got 5 teachers and they all switch with each other. And so you've got the class that has the students with the newcomers or very limited English to the extreme of students that only speak English. And so their needs are very different. So the kids that are new are going to get, basic English instruction. The students that are proficient in English they're doing other subjects. They're reading books together. They're doing shared, it's making sure that we're pushing kids in whatever direction. So that's happening 1st through 6th grade. 6th grade has a different time, but they're all doing it. So that block not only serves the needs of our language learners, we're all language learners, but it's also helping with that social piece of the dual and the English classes. It's like a bonus piece to it because kids get to know each other. Our teachers get to know all the kids as well. So in March, our English learners take the LPAC. It's a test that tests the domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And there are 4 levels. Any student that reaches a level 4, that reaches a level 4, that means that they've become so proficient in English that they are comparable to a student that only speaks English. And when you get to that level 4, I get to reclassify that student. I get to say, you've maxed out. You have, you are like an English only student, and so we reclassify them and they stop taking this test. So something I really take to heart, because we do have cases where a student comes to us in kinder, they're an English learner, they're now a sixth grader and they're still an English learner, and that doesn't sit well with me. But sometimes it becomes more than just an English language issue. They might be a struggling learner. So a struggling learner has a really hard time classifying out of being an English learner. But what happens, and why I take it to heart, is if they leave Edison as an English learner, they still have to continue to take ELD at the middle school, and that takes the place of an elective. And that's not okay with me, because at that point, they're sick of being an English learner, and they're trying really hard, but they may just be a struggling learner. And this, because I always say, if an English only student took this test, I don't know that they would always get a 4. It's not an easy test to take, especially as they get older in the grade. Again, it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of writing. So we try to do everything possible to get these kids to reclassify out of being an English learner. So this is how we're doing. And where a lot of our students get stuck is at level 2, because they get past the basic skills. And then once the reading and the writing kicks in, they get stuck at this level. So you'll see that the yellow bar is always the biggest bar. That's also public information if you wanted to dive deeper into it. And I just want to show you, this will be my last slide. So if you remember, our school-wide goal has been writing for a few years. And last year, after meeting with our instructional leadership team, so our instructional leadership team is composed of a grade level representative. So you have a teacher from every single grade level. We make sure that you have teachers from the English program, the Spanish program, and we get together and we discuss instructional strategies. We focus on academic, we look at our data. And so what we decided, or what the team decided, is that writing is really good. There's so many things that we say after COVID, but we had seen that writing was really, really low. And so we focused on writing for a while. So we're still focusing on writing, but our TK through 3rd grade teacher said, we still need to focus on reading. Like reading still we always say that TK through 2nd grade, you're learning to read. After that, it's your reading to learn. Because if you're not a solid reader in 3rd grade, with all that content that you're getting, it's not, now you're struggling with reading and you're struggling with content. So we want to make sure that our TK through 3 are solid readers. I mean, that has to be our goal. We're not forgetting writing, but we want to make sure that we have reading goals. And so our teachers are currently working on what that goal will look like and what the assessments will look like. And we want them to be, because some assessments can be so long that it just kills the purpose of what we're doing. So we want to make sure that that we're intentional. We don't have the luxury of time. I mean, 180 days go by really, really fast.
And it's in both
languages. And so, but of course, with our dual kids, TK through 2nd grade, it's strictly focused on Spanish. And then 3rd grade is what we change things up to add the English. Okay. But yeah, it'll be Spanish focused. So that's. Any questions for me? Yes. Yes.
I was wondering, because when I did the tour here, they were talking about like wellness and mental health for kids as well, and possibly that there is therapy available or not. I just wanted to see like where can I go to get more information.
I saw you a slide I should add. We have a lot of resources. Anybody want to take it? We have a lot of resources, but Ms Rios.
Would you just have a lot versus what?
So
if there is a need.
let me repeat the question. I'm asking
Just
about.
for recording, just to repeat the question so they know what we're talking
Her
about.
question was about therapy, therapy and social emotional support for students.
So we do have a lot of resources with psychologists, we have a school counselor that's here 2 days a week, we have a school counseling intern who's here 2 days a week. And then we also offer Hazel Health, so depending on what the need is, if you just reach out to me or discuss your school psychologist or your classroom teacher and we can connect you to us. That we and we can then connect and figure out what it is. Okay. And then what support would be best. Okay, sure.
Hazel Health is an online
it's an online support system for kids, so it's like school-based counseling. But the nice thing is because it's online, some parents don't want their child missing class time. And so it's something that can be done at home, but it's offered through the school district.
Many of the therapists, sorry, can I add, are licensed clinical social workers and they're also very well versed with working with kids specifically too. So just personal experience, Hazel Health has been phenomenal. So fun for that.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just a question, because I know this year we added TK. How are we getting
How's it
rid of-
going?
Are we getting rid of 6th grade?
No.
No.
Okay. So TK to
Um,
6th, so
Right now, it's TK through 6th grade, we haven't heard otherwise, I know that
okay.
there's only a handful of elementaries that have a 6th grade. And there hasn't been talk of taking the 6th grade, I mean, it really will depend on enrollment, everything is all based on numbers, enrollment, how it affects the middle schools. You know, because if their enrollment drops, then that's a possibility. There's elementaries that are already TK through 5th. And then we get transplants for 6th grade here because you're not, you know, your children, right? You know, whether 6th grade, they'll be able to handle it, that type of scene or that type of different exposure to different things in middle school at 6th grade, or whether you would want to keep them. Having been at the middle school, there's definitely a difference, right? And you know, as I was an assistant principal at the middle school where some 6th graders are like, maybe they should have just stayed a little bit this year at the elementary school. Like, there's a difference. Some kids have no choice because their feeder schools are like that. And so it really just depends on right now your preference. But there's about 6 schools, honestly, there's 6 of us that have 6th grade. But they haven't told me, but if I hear about it, I will let you guys.
That's.
And TK is going really well. They're adjusting now to the part of like the structure, you know, the different way. A lot of resources there that are offered just for even TK, just the social emotional piece of learning boundaries. That was the big one today. Like they have a little song about boundaries in space. So they're learning a lot, and if you have an opportunity or been volunteering, take a peek at 2104 is where this one is just doing amazing.
And it's cute because they're all siblings, so you can see like the little faces of their
I think all but
maybe all but 2 are siblings.
are
right?
siblings of current students.
Yeah. And I've been asked if we'll have a TK in Spanish. That's not gonna happen either. We don't have the space, and
I'm surprised they didn't make that
I know.
study. We only have one in the entire district.
I know, that's the only one.
You would have thought like they would have treated.
Yeah.
So that's good. Any other questions? Our school site count, so again, I'm sending out the ballots for you to vote for your peers next Thursday. And our first school site council meeting will be on the 29th. I think it's a Tuesday, and it's usually 3 to 4. That's what worked for our past school site council members. If we need to change it, you know, that's always up to the members that are involved. Because it's really hard, you know, we used to try a morning meeting, we used to try an evening meeting. Zoom worked, so we're still doing it on Zoom. Because it feels like that's the easiest way for people to still be a part of it. They, you know, you don't have to rush here from work, and the teachers are, so that's how we've been doing it. But of course, I'm open to whatever works for the greater good. Because it's supposed to be for you as parents. So the members are always supposed to be a part of it. It's open to anyone, but it's just the elected members that get to vote on specific items. You get to give your input, but an elected member is what helps us make decisions. That's it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms Rios. Yeah, that was all so informative, and thank you for all this data. I'm gonna keep this really short, just a couple quick updates from the PTO, and then so one quick announcement. If you did fill out the card that Ryan and Monique passed out, please just make sure they get it. And let's see, in this Thursday folder, Halloween flyers are coming home, so you can return it for wristband. Please volunteer if you can, and there's trunk or treat. It's always fun for the kids. One of the other items from our PTO listening party was people were asking about, are there other groups? Like my child is on an IEP. I would love to meet other parents. Now, we cannot go in the system and find everyone and add them to a group, right? So on Tuesday, what we're going to be doing is putting out a post where you can comment in the post of what groups you'd like to see in Parent Square. Now, you can't like someone's post, so you can't like it so we get the most likes. But if you like what someone says, repeat it. The most repeated suggestions are going to be created into groups. We're not going to create 100 to start, but maybe, 5 or, 7, depending, because we want to give people the ability to have more community. These groups are all opt-in. So it is an opt-in group. No one will be automatically added. Once we have the groups decided, there'll be a link sent out. You can click on and join. So please look out for that on Tuesday. We try not to spam you. And also one other item from the PTO listening party was there's a lot of students, as Ms. Rios had said, a lot of students coming in from other countries, from other districts. And you come in 5th grade, you come in 6th grade. That is so hard. So one of the parents in our PTO listening party suggested a student ambassador program. So I spoke to Ms. Tiscareño, who run the student council, and they were like, oh, this is totally a job for student council. So I want everyone to know that the student council will be focusing on creating some type of student ambassador program. So when a new student does come to school, whatever grade they're in, they do have a buddy or someone who's going to like show them around and introduce them and try to get them involved to the level that they're comfortable with. So I want you to know these listening parties, we hear you. And I always bring it back to the principal with our monthly meetings. And I always want to try to provide an update to everyone whenever there's an opportunity. But keep coming to those parties. And if you can't, send an email, because we want you to know that you're heard and that it may not be the answer. We may not be the one you want to hear, but we're going to try to get you an answer. So that was it. Principal Labrecque, was there anything before we closed the meeting down? All right, again, everyone, it'll be in the newsletter that's coming out today. It'll be just a clickable YouTube link, so you can rewatch it. And again, I want to thank Ryan and Monique for their time, Ms. Rios for such a thorough presentation, and Principal Labrecque for the updates and answering those difficult questions, as always, Ms. Nazarians as well. So thank you all so much for coming, and Ryan and Monique are here for any questions, and I will be here for a little bit if anyone wants to come chat with me as well. Thank you, everyone, and thank you if you've listened.